when I was living in the Bay Area, I was terribly unhappy. I just got out of rehab. I ran away from the rehab. I said I didn't need it anymore. And then when I got out of the rehab, I was homeless. I didn't have a place to go because my parents, well, they were like, you need to finish the program. But I didn't need a program because after everything I went through, I was done drinking. So I ended up taking a bus from Sacramento to Santa Cruz, and my parents did help me out with a place to live, actually, at least. So I got into a place to live, but it was like everything up there in the Bay Area and like just Northern California was like working against me. And so I got to the Northern California, I got to Santa Cruz, and after I moved in, it was like 1 month. The landlord went around evicting everybody. He was like, "Hey, tourist season is coming, and I want everybody out so I can get top dollar for the rent here for from the tourist." And then what he ended up doing was creating this hotel motel type thing into like condos, and these people were all moving out, and I was one of the people that get displaced. So I, as soon as I got settled in, got a place to live, I was out. So then I didn't have a place to live, and I like lived on the streets of downtown San Jose for a while until I found this place to live. At the end of the summer, I found a place to live in Cupertino, California. It was like way up in the mountains, and I was really happy living there. But like I said, like everything was working against me. Like it wasn't a good place for me to live. So while I was living up there, this the landlord, she showed up to my house one day. She's like, "Oh, I'm frail and sick," and like the boyfriend was banging on the door, like open up, and I like open up. I'm like, what? And then the landlord, she's like, "Oh, I'm frail and sick, and I'm gonna die in 1 month. I'm gonna die," and then the boyfriend was like, "They're gonna cut her leg off, bro." And then she's like, "Yeah, I have diabetes, and they're gonna cut my leg off, and I'm gonna die, and I wanna die in the house that I built with my bare hands." And then the boyfriend was like, "Yeah, so can you get out?" Like, and then both of them were like, "Yeah, we want you out of the house so I can die here." I'm like, "Well, no, like, I was my housing situation was terrible. I was not about to give it up and go through it all again. Everything was bad." And then I went outside, and like the boyfriend started taking off the my truck tires because like one of my trucks were flat, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And then he was like, "Oh, I'm helping you out, bro. I'm helping you fix your truck so you can get out of here." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not going anywhere, you know." So then what happened was I ended up going for a jog, and when I was running, I was thinking about what to do. So I came back home, and I saw that the landlord and her boyfriend pitched a tent in my driveway, and they were adamant on not leaving. They really thought that they could push me out of my house. And I was like, I just went up to them. I was like, "Listen, I'm not leaving, and I don't know what your problem is, you know." And then she was just like, we were talking for a while, and then like out of nowhere, she started feeling healthy again. She's just like, "Oh, I feel good, and I really like you." And the boyfriend is like, "Yeah, you're really cool, like you can stay here. We'll just kick out someone else who lives here because there are like several properties on the property." So then they said they were just gonna kick out someone else who lived there. While this was going on, one of the other people who lived on the properties apparently got someone pregnant in China, and he was gonna move in to the next door. Or we had a joining wall. It was like a duplex type thing, and he was gonna move the family from China in here. So it's like 10 people next door, and just me here. And the house is only built for one person, but they're gonna have like 10 people live in there. So then, like overnight, they had like everything being cool to the landlord all of a sudden gonna die the next day, needing her leg chopped off, wanting to die in the house that I moved in, to this guy getting these people pregnant in China, and they all move in right here, and there's 10 people moving in, and like everything's all chaotic, right? Everything's all bad. So then the landlord, while she's there, she sees the guy moving in, and she's like, or 10 people moving in. She's like, no, this can't happen. So she ended up kicking that guy out who had the 10 people move into the place where only one person was supposed to live. And then her and the boyfriend moved into that house. So now it was me living on this side, and then the landlord and the boyfriend living on this side. Okay, I didn't know this, but the landlord was okay beside lying about needing her leg chopped off and gonna die the next day. And the boyfriend, however, he was a raging alcoholic. During the day he was cool, then at night he would just start screaming, like, not like angry, well, yeah, it turned into angry, but he turned into screaming like Metallica songs and Bob Marley songs. Bob Marley I can deal with, I like Bob, but I don't like Metallica. And then, like, it was crazy. So during the day he was cool. What happened was, this one night the boyfriend got super drunk, and then he had a shower that clogged up, and then he expected me to fix it, and I had no problem with fixing it. So I went up there to go fix the shower, and then I couldn't fix it, and then he started banging on my door and started walking around the property with a shotgun, and started saying, like, started yelling crazy stuff, like stuff I don't even want to say, but he started saying all this stuff, basically threatening my life with a shotgun, and it was all bad. And I didn't want anything to deal with this. I didn't want to deal with any of this. So what I ended up doing was packing up and moving out to Indio. So that was my experience living there. That's the whole story with that. Now, one story I forgot about living there was the Bahia Emerald story. I totally forgot about that. One day when I was out for a jog, I came back and there were two detectives, guys dressed in suits, at the door, and I didn't really think anything of it. I just went around and I went up to my place. There were 2 units there. So the detectives were at the other door. I go home, I'm hanging out, and then my neighbor, he comes up to me later, and he comes up to me and says, do you know anything about the Bahia Emerald? I'm like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he's like, well, our landlord, I'm not going to say the name, but is wanted by the FBI for a Bahia Emerald heist. And, you know, they're in trouble. So by the time the Bahia Emerald thing, I was okay with, whatever, that didn't involve me. But by the time the property manager started lying to me about getting her leg chopped off and gonna die the next day, and wanting to die in the house that she built with her bare hands, and then the boyfriend walking around with the shotgun, and then my whole past living up there in the Bay Area, just running away from rehab and wanting to start a fresh life over. And, you know, my fresh life wasn't going well in the Silicon Valley and the Bay Area where I was living, and I really wanted to leave. And, you know, a week prior to all this, or actually no, it wasn't even a week prior, it was like in the middle of all this going on, like, this happened relatively quick. I met the landlord, she brought the tent, I went on a road trip, the tent's going on, I go on a road trip, I'm going down to like Indio in Mexico area, and then I find a place I like to live. I actually dropped a deposit there while I was there to live. I got up here, and this whole shotgun thing happened, threatening my life with the shot. I just had to go. I was like, you know what, I already got a place to go down here. I didn't tell the landlord this, but it was time for me to go, and I left. And that's my story of being unhappy in the tech capital of the world.